Do you think that any government or donor or agency is going to help you improve the life of your community? I certainly hope so. We all would appreciate such help. But most of us around the world, especially those of us who live in marginalized places of discrimination from one sort or another, most of us are not going to be helped by our government or some agency or some donor. We're going to be left to fend for ourselves. And Seed Scale is giving to those of us who live in such situations an opportunity where we can help ourselves. What's important to notice about this is the differences in each of those three words. We is not I. We is us working together in that community that is marginalized. And helping is not hindering. And so often those of us who live on the outskirts get in the way of each other. We hinder each other. And ourselves means doing something together. So what Seed Scale encapsulates is we helping ourselves, using what we have. And as we do that, we advance together and get stronger. And as we get stronger, other resources come to us. Because outsiders, government, donors, they all want to support the successful. So as we improve our success, others come to strengthen it. And that is what Seed Scale is setting in place. As this moving forward happens, we get to define the direction that it's going. We own our futures. It's very important in the beginning for us to take that ownership, for us to set the direction, for us to establish the agenda of how the system works. Because then when the outsiders become involved, they are joining a momentum that we have established and we own. And in this process of we helping ourselves to own our futures, the 5 criteria of Seed Scale provide a measuring and monitoring mechanism so that we can move towards a just and lasting future. And I want to share with you now very briefly what those 5 criteria are. The first of these is inclusiveness. Inclusiveness brings justice. And when I speak of inclusiveness, I speak of gender. We must get both halves of our society working together. I speak of poverty, because if we continue a world of rising inequity, we are a community dividing. So we must include the poor. I speak also of race, because if we put those unlike ourselves to the margins, we once again are getting a society that is dividing. And we are having then to build defenses around our bubbles of privilege. And we must also include those of different religious beliefs, because all people work from their values. And to say our values are better than another means that we are losing the opportunity to work from collected, strong values. Because remember, we are trying to help ourselves. So inclusiveness, we must develop a way to measure inclusiveness. The next issue that we have to measure is sustainability. Because a society that is good today, but it is in trouble tomorrow, is not a society that is advancing. It's a society that is on the verge of collapse. So sustainability is our means to a lasting future. And sustainability has three faces. The first of these is the environmental. Are we using the resources that were given to us from past generations in order to create a rich life for future generations? So we have to be able to measure the environmental consequences of our change in our life today. The second issue of sustainability we have to measure is the economic. Are we spending and taking on debt in order to achieve something today that we will have to pay off tomorrow? We need a growth model, an economic growth model that is regenerating and growing itself. And then the third area that we must keep in sustainability mode is our values, our culture. Are we compromising the glue that holds us together as people? Are we compromising ourselves, that process that is holding us together? So we have to be watching for sustainability, the environment, our economics, and our values and culture. And this then leads to the third criteria, which is holism. To advance in health is wonderful. To advance in happiness is also wonderful. To advance in wealth is great. To advance in security is necessary. But which of these is important? Most important. They all are important. So we need a means to be monitoring the holistic approach, the holistic balance in where we're going forward. And as we are going forward, we must realize that in this world of today, we are all interdependent. We can be going forward holistically, but we also have to be aware that there's an interdependence. And it is an interdependence of one economy, one world, one information, especially now with the internet. It is an interdependence of people as we're moving through migration. And it is an important interdependence of all of life, the environment. We live in an interdependent world. No country is alone anymore. No people. We are in the socio-econo-info biosphere, where all systems interrelate, interlink, and work in symbiosis. Now, in this complex, interdependent world, the way we move forward is by never getting the answers right. Getting the answers right is something we could do in school on a math test. But in life, it is iteration that we have to be focusing on, which is not getting it right, but getting it better. Each step will have its problems, and we must accept that and understand it. But each step can be better than the one before. And if we're doing that, of incremental, iterative growth, then we're on a forward journey of making steady, step-by-step progress of iteration. These 5 criteria get applied on a cyclical basis in our lives. They are universally relevant, but we need to get key indicators for each of these 5 variables. And with those key indicators, where we have something to count, we can be tracking on a regular basis inclusiveness, sustainability, holism, interdependence, and iteration. And a key indicator can be something as simple as a type of bird. It can be as simple as the statistic about the health in your community. It can be as comprehensible as measuring the economic growth. All of those are relevant indicators where we have some concrete number, and none is more important than the other. What's important is that we're using them all to monitor and track and reform ourselves in a constant growing process. When we do that, we are achieving our objective of we helping ourselves. And this is what SeedScale is offering to every community in the world. It is a locally specific solution with locally specific answers that allows you to define and own and create the just and lasting future for your community.